All right, so I am ultra fresh for this video. Fresh out of the shower, I gotta go get a haircut, but I needed to rip this video out because we have some new interesting information about PlayStation and PC. Of course, they've been cozying up for quite a few years now with PlayStation releasing their first-party games, eventually over on PC, but with some of this new information about a potential cross-buy, I think they're sealing the deal to some degree on this relationship, and I think there's a lot of interesting outcomes of what this could actually mean. So some of them exciting, some of them whatever, and one kind of disappointing one, but we shall see. So let's get into all that, but before we do, if you haven't been here before, I'm Dustin. I post once, sometimes twice a week. I stream right here on this channel on Wednesday nights. So if you like what you see so far, if you don't mind, help me out with a subscription, liking the video, and maybe even hyping the video if you're feeling crazy. But all that helps me out. I'm happy to have you here, so hope you enjoy the video. So this news about a potential PlayStation cross-buy kind of blew up yesterday from the time of me recording this on November 4th, when a PlayStation data miner named, I believe it's Amethyst, but there's an X in there, so maybe it's slightly different. But we're going to go with Amethyst for this video. Posted this tweet here, and it says, "New symbols will be added soon, parentheses, website and tool, but here are some of the nice new features from PlayStation. Parentheses, yes, some are old, others are unseen." And then there's a list here. It says a kind of echo mode, PS5/PC games, and then cross-buy. That's the big one. And that's the thing that's got people a little riled up. And he went and verified this, and we've seen a bunch of articles. Specifically, I'm looking at the Insider Gaming article, but a lot of websites have written this up. And so these are icons that are in the back end of the PlayStation Store that have been data mined. So these are legit from Sony. This isn't something someone photoshopped. It's real. And this leak comes hot off of the news that PlayStation Plus Premium users with a PlayStation Portal will be able to stream some games that they already own directly onto the portal. And while that's not exactly the same, I feel like it's relevant to the story overall, and that we're seeing PlayStation continually branch into services where, in theory, for some users that are cool with streaming, they don't even need to own a PlayStation 5. They can get a PlayStation Portal, they can get PlayStation Plus Premium, and they can stream those games. They never need to buy a PlayStation 5. And as I mentioned earlier, PlayStation has been cozying up with PC and releasing their games there, and now we see this cross-buy option. So let's get into what that could potentially mean. Cross-buy is something that Xbox has been doing for quite a while with a lot of their games, not all of them, some of them shockingly not cross-buy, but it's called Play Anywhere, where you can buy a game as long as you buy it on that Xbox store. You get it on your console, you get it on your PC, and if you have the cloud stuff, I think often you can use it on the cloud. And it is a handy feature if you're the type of gamer that has multiple devices. You want one on the go, you want one in front of your TV, and you want one at your desk with your gaming PC. I know for me, the Steam Deck has been really great for that, because while those games aren't really technically cross-buy because they are both just one PC game, you have a similar experience where there's certain games, most recently like Ball Pit, I've been playing. Sometimes I play it on my living room PC downstairs, and I'll pick up my Steam Deck. The saves are automatically synced, and I can play it on the go. It really is a nice feature, and I enjoy it a lot. So seeing PlayStation do this cross-buy feature, it's surprisingly pro-consumer, where a lot of PlayStation gamers, I think right now, currently will buy games on PlayStation. If they're, hardcore, love PlayStation games, they're buying it day one there. And some of them will go and buy the PC version again if they want to play it on their PC or their Steam Deck or whatever PC handheld. Whatever their situation is, they'll buy it again. Sony makes 2 sales on that. It's definitely not going to be a situation where you buy your game on PlayStation and then you get it in your Steam library. In order to make this happen, PlayStation most likely is going to need their own PlayStation PC launcher. And we all know the PC gaming community loves launchers. They love seeing that Ubisoft launcher. They love seeing the EA Play launcher. They're just like, yeah, more launchers. We love it. But yeah, jokes aside, a PlayStation launcher is probably incoming. And we got reports about this in the last few years that in the Spider-Man PC release, there were references to a potential PlayStation PC launcher. So we've been waiting for more news on what that could possibly be. It's been a few years now, and we have seen integration with PC continue to get stronger, whether it's with the PlayStation logins, love it or hate it, but the ability to earn PlayStation trophies on your account, regardless of where you're playing, whether it's on PlayStation or PC. So we're seeing these integrations and, the potential data mine of the reference of a PlayStation PC launcher. All these things are kind of coming together to point to that. And let me tell you, PlayStation would love to you buy your PlayStation games on a launcher instead of Steam, because if they have their own launcher, they don't need to give Valve a cut. They just immediately get all the money. But I think PlayStation is smart enough to know that without some kind of perk, people aren't just going to choose to buy the game on a PlayStation launcher. They are going to want to buy it on Steam with the rest of their library. Getting people to switch to a new platform is very difficult, particularly on PC. We saw this with the Epic Games Store. They can literally hand out free games every week for years, and people still do not want to use Epic Game Store, along with other reasons as well. Getting people to switch over, not an easy task. And so the cross-buy functionality, I think, could be enough to convince some people, if they are the type of gamer that maybe buy a game like Ghost of Yotei on PS5, and then years down the line, they're going to want to buy it again on PC. Instead, they can just buy it once, but under the stipulation, you need to buy it on the PlayStation launcher. I would imagine too, just because this is the way it always goes, that even if you don't buy a PlayStation game on the PlayStation launcher, they're going to force you to have the launcher, much like Rockstar or other companies that when you buy a game on Steam, it forces you to use their launcher in addition to Steam. So prepare for that as well as a possibility. I think there are some stipulations though to what this means, because I've seen all kinds of takes online, of course, as always. There's all kind of speculation. And some people thought, oh, well, if there's cross-buy, this is going to mean day one PlayStation PC releases in the future. And I think that could be possible with certain games. I don't think PlayStation is quite at the point where they need to release their big AAA first-party single-player games everywhere at once in order to get that wide market. Maybe at some point in the future, they'll do that if they maybe feel like PC isn't harming them that much. But at this point, the PlayStation brand is still strong enough, and it's still a home for those exclusive games for an exclusive enough period that I think it does draw people over to play on PlayStation at launch, because if you want to play that game, you couldn't wait to play it on PC, but we all know gamers, not exactly the most patient bunch. So they're going where the game is, thus people still going to buy a PlayStation even if they have a $1,000 PC. Not everyone. There are people that definitely wait. I hear about them all the time from Sacred Symbols comments of people that wait, and God bless you. That's awesome. But many of us, myself included, are not waiting. So then what kinds of games would be cross-buy? Well, I could see that eventually that those games, when they do come out, become cross-buy. And so that's kind of interesting. If you buy it on PlayStation, you can feel secure that in your future, via the PlayStation launcher, when the PC version comes out, you'll be able to play it there. And cross-save with that would be pretty interesting as well. I do think there will be some games, though, that will be day one cross-buy, and that's going to be these live service games. I wouldn't be surprised if a game like Marathon, you can cross-buy on PlayStation. If you buy it on the PlayStation Store, you can use PlayStation's launcher, assuming it's ready at that point, and you get access to both versions of the game. I know for me personally, that would be awesome. A game like Marathon would be a PC-only game. I would buy it once, play it on PC, and that's just where it would live. That's where I find it easiest to connect with my friends. That's a multiplayer game. But if I had the option to buy it on a PlayStation launcher and then be able to just do some casual runs on my couch when I'm playing solo or something, that is pretty compelling. And just like many of you, I don't like buying games outside of Steam. I'm so locked into Steam. I think Steam is a very prosumer company, and so I like buying games there. But they got that carrot on the stick that's like, hey, you wouldn't have to buy the game twice. You can access it here. You got cross-save. that would be pretty compelling. I think it's worth mentioning too, as a side note, though I know this isn't going to apply to a lot of you, is that this is another way too where PlayStation is trying to just get people off of physical games, because I would imagine a cross-buy perk is just not going to work with a physical disc. And this is only going to become more relevant as next generation we get the PlayStation 6 handheld. You can check out the Moore's Law is Dead episode that I was on, that him and I broke down all that stuff. He had some of the exclusive details, but they're kind of getting old at this point, but still very relevant. So I guess it's kind of a balancing act for PlayStation, where I mentioned earlier that they are enjoying double sales from some people that are buying on PlayStation and then buying again. But not everybody does that. Not everybody necessarily will, even if they have a gaming PC, they've played that game before, they're fine. They don't need it on PC. So they miss out on the double sale. But if they had a cross-buy option that people could then get access to both, they're locking in potentially the ability for them to make 100% of the sale instead of 70% or whatever Steam's pricing range is. I think it's 70. And then that 30% goes immediately to Valve. 30% gone. And clearly this icon has the PS5/PC, and the cross-buy icon is separate. I think an absolute crazy outcome, though very unlikely, is that this is kind of reference to the PlayStation Portal, where the cross-buy means buy on PlayStation and get the cloud version. I don't think that's the outcome. Throwing it out there, though, I mean, crazier things have happened. So yeah, the gaming landscape is, man, it's just changing so rapidly. To see PlayStation cozy up so much to PC, I think overall, it's great. They're the ones that have all the data on player behaviors, and I think they're starting to realize that PC gamers are just not necessarily console gamers, and you can't convince them even with exclusive games. They're willing to wait or just not play them at all. And I think that the strategy to meet some of them where they are is a smart one. So what do you think about the possibility of PlayStation cross-buy? I made some, statements about different types of gamers and their buying habits, but I love to hear directly from you. Are you the patient PC gamer that is willing to wait and does not care about a potential cross-buy because they're playing on PC anyway? And if you are a PlayStation gamer that happens to own a PC or a PC handheld, what are your thoughts on the possible cross-buy? Would you be willing to switch to a PlayStation launcher in order to get those games? Very interesting times. Let me know down in the comments. You guys know I love to hear from you. And thanks for watching this video, and I will see you guys next time. Goodbye.